Welcome to the shop. I'm really excited. Today's video is about hand planes, which is like my favorite hand tool ever, as you probably already know. Today we're going to talk about a bunch of different ones that are available now versus the older ones that are hard to find but sometimes available. This right here before your eyes is a Stanley 60½. This is basically the golden design that every hand plane like this is modeled after, it seems. And these are not available in its current state anymore. But it is a low angle block plane, and that low angle is referencing the blade angle as it would pass through the base plate. And it's a very shallow angle, which is good for fine woodworking. And a higher angle plane might have a different use. It may be for more rough use, where you don't care if it tears out the grain a little bit because it's maybe not your final finished surface. But the low angle plane can really get a super fine shaving and leave a glassy smooth, no need to sand surface. This tool can do amazing work. It's such a small, humble little tool, you could say, that fits in your pocket. You could take it anywhere, but it can do an incredible amount of precise work, and that's one reason why I love them so much. Now, like I said, Stanley doesn't make this exact plane anymore. There are lots of companies that duplicate it, including Stanley itself, apparently. Now, I don't really know what is the deal, but here is maybe a 20-year-old hand plane of the same design, and it does not say 60½" anywhere on it that I can see. So the real one actually says 60½, and I should have borrowed the one that I bought for Jono a couple years ago, but it looks just like this, but the quality is just a little bit less, and I don't really highly recommend the actual Stanley now. And it's just because the way that it operates with this little lever that opens the cap up, and I'm going to show you this right now because this is one of the features that almost all of these have. This is a little cam style operated lever that locks the cap, we'll call that the cap, over the blade and tightens it. So you slide it in, it's nice and loose. You flip the lever and it snugs up, and that's what locks the blade in place. That is probably the most common type of cap, is this. I call it a lever cap. I guess that's what it's called. You can see that the original one has a nice lever cap. Ooh. And you know, some of the new ones work pretty well and some of them don't. And it's kind of hard to even tell how this thing really does its job, but it's pretty effective. All right, so the cap is going to be one of the most important features that I analyze when I'm looking at these. And you can see they all look different. They have some different designs. There's another lever cap. This one is unique in the sense that it has a screw type cap, but the screw is on the top. And actually, I really like that. I really do like that a lot because it's easy to access and it's very easy to turn. And you're making constant adjustments with your hand plane when you're using it, depending on how hard the wood is, how much material you want to take off, whether you want your blade perfectly square in the opening here, or whether you want it slightly skewed to the side for any reason, and there are times when you would want that, or whether you just sharpened it crooked and you need to try to true it up to be straight with the base plate. So these functions and features of the cap coming on and off and being tightened and loosened is a super important feature because you're going to be using it all the time. All right, so the lever cap I think is going to be found mostly on lower priced planes. This one doesn't say the name on it, but I'm pretty sure this is a Great Neck brand. It doesn't even say. I always wonder when it doesn't say the name of it on it, what's the deal with that, you know? Another pretty inexpensive one is a Buck Brothers from Home Depot or something like that. I looked at pictures of it online. I wasn't in love with it, but it's only $17, so maybe. All right, the other style of cap is going to be this with a little screw. We call this a thumb screw, or at least I would. And that allows you to loosen the cap and pull it off really easily. And you can get a variation of how tight you want it to be. Like if you just want to snug it up a tiny bit because you're still feeding your blade forward and you're feeling how much blade you have out and you want to feed a little more, you can do that while it's semi-snugged, and then you just tighten it down when you're satisfied with the setting. Whereas on the lever type, you're basically going to flip it totally loose and then feed it where you want it, and then flick it totally closed, and you'll bounce back and forth. And that's okay too, really. I mean, there's really nothing wrong with that, but I almost prefer the screw type with the thumb screw just because it's a little more fine feeling maybe, and it lets you adjust how tight you're actually tightening it. And I gotta say, the cap pressing down on the blade is not what holds the blade from being pushed back when you actually put force against the cutting edge of the blade. The blade is held in place from moving backwards by another little feature that all of these hand planes will have. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of different designs. This one just has this little peg right here, and it's attached to the screw that will feed the blade forward and backward to get your depth of cut adjustment. And all of these have different designs as far as that goes. All right, so as I screw it forward, it advances the blade forward, and if I pull it back, it's going to pull it back. So the actual force of cutting is applied to this device, not the cap. The cap just holds it down from becoming disengaged with that component right there. So I will show you maybe some of the different designs of the feeding mechanism, we'll call it here. Let's see what the original Stanley has here, because that would be a good reference. Look at that. It has some little machined grooves right there, and it engages to these two little tiny teeth. That seems pretty small. I mean, these are not huge, big pieces of metal, but it doesn't take much when the blade is pressed down there with the cap. And the reason it has multiple slots is that as the blade is used and you sharpen it, the blade's going to get shorter and shorter, and you're advancing the blade farther beyond the capability of the throw of this screw. So you need to like step the blade forward on those little steps and get it in its rough position, and then you can adjust it with the screw. So that's pretty cool. A lot of these are going to have multiple grooves or cuts. This one had 2 holes for the alignment there. Let's check out another one, just see what other types. There's a lot of these. It's like an Easter egg hunt. It's a little surprise under each one when you take it apart. So this one has a pretty cool design, a really beefy design, I would say. That's a pretty large slot right there, and it has a pretty nice like shoulder on this screw right there. So I kind of like that one, although guess what? There's only one slot. So, but it's all the way at the back. Maybe there's enough room to advance the blade a pretty long distance before you ever wear it out. Let's check out another one, because I think there actually might be some more designs. And I have fun doing this, by the way. I hope that if you're watching this, it's fun as it is for me looking at them. Probably not, just because maybe I like it a little more than your average person. All right, we're going to check out the Lie-Nielsen version, which is the most expensive one on the table here. It has sort of a concealed version of that all the way through slot, and it only has one shoulder and one little indentation there that's machined to advance the blade. Now that looks nice and clean. See, they have their name stamped in it right there, and maybe they thought that would look the best if it was hidden or concealed. At any rate, they all do the same function, and I can't really say I have a preference on that topic as to which blade feed holder thing I prefer, as long as they all do their jobs. So just to show you another one that's different. This one has 3 slots that go all the way through, and it only has one little tiny catch. Can you even see that? Right there, that one little tiny thing that engages, prevents it from going forward and backwards. So for whatever that's worth, it's just neat that there are so many different designs out there. On the cap topic, I forgot one. This is a brand called Wood River, and it has a little bit of a unique cap, and I've got this one set pretty tight, so bear with me. There we go. It's got like a little cam style lock. This is a little bit more moving parts there, and it does not have any fine adjustment in the closing of it. It's on or off. Now all of these will have a screw in the middle, and that will dictate sort of how tight it locks the blade down when you throw the lever, or in this case this is hard to open and close because I have it set tight so that it doesn't fly apart while I'm using it. I am not a huge fan of this type of mechanism. I find it to be a little bit fumbly, and I just don't particularly love that design. Nevertheless, it is out there. Before we move on to the next feature, I want to say that my favorite type of cap is going to be a kind with an adjustable snugging kind. So like this one right here, where with the thumb wheel, where I can variably control how much is pressing down. So I can't really say I have a favorite plane here in that regard, although I do love the screw on this one where it's at the very top. I haven't seen any of the modern ones available to buy right now that have it right here. It's too bad because I think this is a brilliant design. I really do like that one. But I would pick one that has the adjustable thumb screw. So that's my best advice there. One that's easy to get to, I would say. It's really great if you can handle one of these before you buy it. That may not always be an option, but if you can, it's pretty nice to get a feel of it and see if you even like it before you buy it. Next up, let's talk about a little feature that's sort of hidden on some of them that allows you to skew the blade side to side a little bit. This one probably has the most obvious mechanism right here. These two little, I don't know what to call them, little pusher things here that allow you to slide the blade side to side. And you can see here as I move it, that really is to allow for mishoning or having a slightly angled cut there that you need to square up to the base. So this one has a nice feature that you can push it side to side and adjust that. Let's see if you can tell right here while I've got it upside down, if you can see me moving the blade there. Just for a little fine tuning of your alignment. That's a pretty neat feature. Not all of them have that. And if they don't have it, then you just have to loosen the cap, kind of eyeball it, wiggle it around, lock it down and see if it's where you want. So for example, this one right here, this is a Melbourne, and I just bought this one at the store the other day just to have one to test. See, it actually has a little hidden feature. It doesn't look like anything, but this is on a pivot and it allows you to do the same thing. So you would think it doesn't have anything because it's hidden. All right, let's check out maybe another one here. Let me see the original Stanley here. Let's see what it has. Nothing. Nothing. You have to manually do this. So you just loosen the cap, adjust the blade a little bit, and lock it back down. Let's check out the Lie-Nielsen, or is it Lie-Nielsen? I'm never gonna know. Let's see what it has. That is fixed, okay, but there's a little bit of wiggle room for you to adjust the blade. Okay, fair enough. Let's see about another one. I see a different one here that has a different design. This guy is a Stanley as well, and I don't know what model, 9 1/4 it says. I'm not highly familiar with this model, but it does have a nice feeling lever cap, and it has this cool little lever in the back that will adjust the blade for you and a little bit of side-to-side action. So I think that's a good feature to have. I would definitely vote for that if I got to pick. There's one right there. Like I said, there's so many different designs. It's actually neat just to look at them. I'm going to see if I see any other designs similar to that. This one has some little thumb pushing piece of metal there that does the same thing. So I like that feature. I think it's a good feature because you can flip the plane over and sight the edge of the cutting edge against the opening of the mouth there to get your alignment. And that's easier than doing it this way and tightening it and flipping it and locking it each time. You can see as we're getting pretty in-depth, there are a lot of details about the features of these different kind of hand planes that make them all unique and maybe more suitable for you for a project or less suitable for some reasons we'll get to in a little bit. The next feature is going to be an adjustable mouth. All right, you can see where the blade comes out of the bottom of the plane. We'll call that the mouth. And the adjustable mouth here, we're going to unscrew this, and it has a little cool little lever that will raise and lower that piece to make the front of it actually closer to the blade or farther away. Now you might be thinking, why in the world does that matter? And it's simply because if you're taking a super fine cut, the blade is not sticking out very far. You'll take a fine shaving. And if you're in any figured grain wood like curly or quilted wood, or if you're running against the grain and you have to, then it will support the wood fiber right in front of the cut, if you can imagine this, and prevent it from popping up and making a big splinter or making it a rough cut. So it allows you to make super fine cuts if that's what you're going to be doing. Now this does add a little bit of weight to it because it's a mechanism, and it's a little bit complicated. It's multiple parts here. You may end up messing with this, or you might break the screw or lose a part. So for what I do on the job site, I really don't need this. If I was in the wood shop doing some extremely fine woodworking with some really hard woods, I think maybe that's a good feature. But for job site application, I don't really think it's a consideration. Right here, I've got a fixed mouth plane, no moving parts. It's got a nice wide mouth that does allow for those larger, deeper cuts that make big shavings, and they won't clog up the mouth, because that's what can happen if you have it set too tight. I've actually taken a grinder to some of my hand planes that have a fixed mouth and they're too small, and I just want to hog off some material. I just take a grinder and I grind them out, and I don't even care because I like to make the plane do what I want it to do. This other old one here also has a fixed design. There's no adjustment, and this one you can see is pretty narrow. Look at that, only about a 1/16 of clearance right there, whereas this newer one has like 3 or 4 times the opening. So check that out. If you're just doing rough work, I would advise to get one with a larger opening, and if you're doing really fine work, either buy one with a fixed small opening or buy one with the adjustable, and then you can have it both ways. You can have it your way if you like. Here's a Pony brand one, or Jorgensen. I don't know if Pony is Jorgensen or Jorgensen's Pony. I don't know, I can't tell these days, maybe it doesn't matter. But that one has a nice little adjustable feature. And so do all of the like really high dollar ones. Let's go back to the Lie-Nielsen here, and we're just bouncing back and forth just to compare. But this has a really heavy, nice, I mean, look at how heavy duty this little adjuster handle is even. It's like heavy duty brass or something like that. It's really nice. I mean, moving right along here because Brett is holding the camera with his arms, and the limitation of the length of this video is how long can Brett hold the camera. The next consideration that I think about is the width and the weight of the plane. Let's go back to the original Stanley here. I don't have a tape measure, but I think this is 1 3. Let me get a tape. Where's my tape? Nope. I don't have a tape. I don't have a tape measure in my shop. There we go. And we're back. All right, let's check the overall width because I've never actually measured that. All right, 1 3/4. The blade is 1 3/8. So when you look at buying one, I found that the specs on these are not always very obvious. Like how wide is the plane, but how wide is the blade? This would be called 1 3/8, but that's the blade size. Who knew? All right, so this is 1 3/8, and that is the one I prefer because I don't have huge hands, and this seems to fit in the hand really nicely. Really, I think the feel of the plane in your hand, how easy it is to hold and how heavy it is a huge consideration, maybe more of a consideration than all the other features that we're talking about. Now, the Wood River one here, it's wider, and I tend to not use it because of that. Let's check it out. It's 2 inches wide and 1 5/8 wide blade. That is only 1/4 inch wider, but it seems to cross the threshold of what is really comfortable to me or not. And if I don't feel like I've got a good grip on it because it's too wide, I feel like I might drop it or something. Now this might be 1 5/8 so that maybe you could plane across 1 1/2 wide edge of something and fully get it with a little tiny bit of wiggle room. But really, I almost only use this type of hand plane when I'm on 3/4 material, trim. Maybe 1 inch sometimes, whatever, but usually not anything really wide. So I prefer the more narrow body design. And as far as the weight goes, I don't really like a heavy hand plane. And it's kind of counterintuitive that the heavier ones are more expensive and better. They are made maybe of more material that doesn't make them heavy. Maybe better material, like this is brass and it's really nice. And maybe this cap might be, I don't know what it is. Let's just say it's aluminum or something. But the fine woodworker is going to prefer a heavy plane because it will reduce the amount of chatter. So the plane is more likely to stay constantly in contact with your workpiece when it's heavier. And as you get momentum behind the plane, and sometimes you do plane pretty fast and pretty hard. And as you get momentum, man, this thing will carry right through a sticky part of the grain, or maybe through a knot or something else that you're just trying to plow through. So high quality planes probably are going to be heavier. Probably the cheaper ones are going to be lighter. For me, I am going to carry this in my tool belt. I'm going to have it in my pocket, and I don't want a heavy one. I want a light one. So I'm going to say, well, which one is light out of all of these? The original one is actually fairly light. I would say quite a bit lighter than the really expensive Lie-Nielsen. And I'm going to point this one out right here. I haven't seen any other ones like this. I don't know where I got this, but it's a Stanley number 118. It's very lightweight, and it is the only one I think here that is like a stamped steel body. It's got a really thin design on the sides right here, and it appears to be stamped out of a flat sheet of metal based on what I'm seeing of the design of it. I really like these little side holes right here, and that is a feature also that you should look for, something that allows you to grip it really firmly. I like that I can get my pointer finger all the way up to the front little knob. The front little knob doesn't do anything. Like these knobs, they all have a function that they tighten and loosen the adjustable mouthpiece. And this one is just maybe to put your finger on. But this is pretty light. I would love to carry this in my pocket. So that's a pretty big consideration. One of the new ones I bought here just for testing's sake is the Melbourne. And while it does have some nice little hollowed out kind of places on the side of the body, which is good, and most of them do. I would say I think all of them do. Let me see if there's even one that doesn't. Okay, here's one. The only one that doesn't is this, and I think it's a great neck. I could be wrong, but this is a very cheap plane, only, I don't know, maybe $15 or something like that. But it's still a very good plane. This one is actually too long for me. Like my finger, I can't quite get there. I'm not gonna get there. I could try more. No, still can't get it. So I would put my finger down here near where the shavings come out, but I don't love that either, you know. So this one, I don't know. And I will say that this little handle, while it is a functional handle for adjusting a feature, that's great. It is a finger hold to help you press down on the front side, or we would call this the infeed side, as if it's a jointer. If you could imagine it being a jointer upside down, the workpiece comes across the blade this way. This would be the infeed table, and this would be the outfeed. So you do need to push some pressure on the infeed side as you're using it. So I think making sure that it feels comfortable in the hand, man, that might be one of the most important features. This one just fits my hand, okay? I wish maybe somebody made a brand new one like this. Maybe they do. If not, I need to find some new old stock of the Stanley 118. It might be a lead candidate in my quest to find a great hand plane here. We got this little Bench Dog brand one, and it feels pretty good. The shape of it is nice. It's got really nice, wide, deep little recessed areas on the sides. It feels good in the hand. It's a little heavy for my daily use though. Maybe just in the shop only plane. And that was about $100, I think. This one was one of the cheapest ones, the Jorgensen. It's available online, or I don't know, anywhere Jorgensen and Pony brand stuff is sold. It feels pretty good too. 30-something dollars, maybe 40. Man, this one is a lot like the Stanley for $40. I really do like it. I like it better than Stanley's new version of the Stanley. And this may not be the most new version. This one might be a little older, but I think I would actually prefer this one for the money. It seems really good. I'm gonna say that about all of them. Yeah, I just can't win. I know you're wondering, how can there possibly be more to say about a little hand plane? And I don't know, they're so awesome to me. I just can't stop talking about them. I gotta stop and talk about the handle a little bit more, okay? Yesterday, I was at the job site planing the side of a door jamb that was already installed, and it was overhead work on a ladder, and I used this handle with both hands, okay? Or this handle on the front I use with my left hand, and I'm on a ladder. I mean, I'm really shucking the material off. There's shavings flying everywhere. Everybody's having a great time. And so this handle is not just for putting your finger on, although that is nice. Sometimes you got to get down and dirty and mean with this thing. and you need something to hold on to, all right? So I might favor one that had a handle on the front that was more comfortable to hold on to for two-handed applications. Now, when I hold on to this thing, I can't feel it at all because my fingers are metal, but I know it's there, okay? All right, let's have a look at the blade thickness of some of these planes because they are different. I don't know really what is the deal with having a really thick blade other than it might make it heavier overall, which if that's what you're going for, adding more metal would do it. We can see the pony, or I'm sorry, I keep saying pony because the two, Jorgensen and pony, I don't know what to call it. That's a pretty thick blade. I would call that 1/8 of an inch thick. And the look of it, that would maybe mean quality to me. As I look at the blade, I would say, wow, that's a nice thick blade. Maybe it's a good quality. I'm gonna pull out the one here on the old Stanley, and you can tell that it is quite a bit thinner. Maybe not half, but certainly thinner. And I don't really know what to make of the blade thickness. I think really the quality of the steel would be a better judge of whether I like the blade or not, but I don't know how to tell the quality of the steel by looking at it. So I'm only assuming that the quality of the blade itself will get better as you buy a more expensive plane. That's the only thing I can really think of. I will say though that I have bought replacement blades that are really high quality that I've put in cheaper planes. So just because the blade may not be great doesn't mean you can't put a great blade in a plane that you really like. Maybe for other reasons you can change the blade. So I think that's not a bad idea. Actually, maybe that is a bad idea because there's so many different types of mechanisms that feed the blade forward. I don't know, unless you go with the Stanley, that may be sort of a universal, the Stanley type. There might be enough of those around there to find an actual replacement blade that works. Dude, did you hear that bird? They're loud, we're gonna have to shut the door. If they're coming in here, they're gonna come in here. Dude, okay. They think it's springtime. It's actually fall. I gotta say, I've had a great time with all these hand planes in my shop. I'm kind of sad these ones that I borrowed have got to go back to Sherman, but thank you for letting me borrow them. But I am happy that we had to buy a few that will have to get left here. And Brett, if you need to borrow a hand plane, I can hook you up. I'm gonna try to boil this down to 4 winners, I think. It depends on who you are, whether or not the certain aspects of a plane are important to you. All right, the overall winner I think has got to go to the Lie-Nielsen. This is an heirloom quality plane, a lifetime tool for you and generations of woodworkers after you. And it's about $200. It's a great plane in almost every way. Super great quality, so let's call that a win. Next up, if you don't want to pay the $200 but you want something a lot like it, for half the price, I would go with, oh, I tricked you. I would go with the Bench Dog plane, and I don't know what website we bought this from, but this is the Bench Dog, and you can see there is a striking resemblance to the Lie-Nielsen, so I think at half the price, that is a win. If you still don't want to pay $100, but you want something with all the same type of design features, I would go with the Jorgensen. This is a gem of a little plane. It's not too heavy. The price is right at $40, and I would love to have this in my pouch or in my tool bench here at the shop. And if you're into the older kind, I think I would go for the original Stanley, or, I know that was 5, but that doesn't count. I would go for this Stanley number 118. To me, I keep going back to this one, and they are not made anymore, so that's sad. But they are available like on eBay. If you want to, scroll through eBay, you can find these for anywhere between $50 to $100, depending on the condition. And I saw one a minute ago that was new in the box. It had the wrapping and everything, $120. I'm tempted to go buy it right now so that I have another one just like it in case this one breaks. So that's about it. I hope you had a great time. Oh, but wait, there's more. Tricked you, didn't I? I'm going to say the most important thing about all these hand planes is that you keep them sharp, because a really expensive dull hand plane is no good, and it'll get beat any day by the cheapest plane on this table that is razor sharp. So if you're not into sharpening yet, you need to get into it, and someday, very soon, we're gonna make some videos about sharpening. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. Try that again. Just for fun, we're gonna see how heavy of a cut I can get out of this really cheap one. Oh yeah, look at that. Dude, I think we can go heavier than that. Let's feed it on down. Ooh, can you take an 1/8 inch off? Oh, look at that. Dude, that is awesome. Dude, that is eating wood, look at it. Look at that. Pretty cool. Ooh, that's sharp. I gotta let you know, I really don't have any strategy for talking about these planes. I'm just gonna like look at them and start talking. Okay. Yo, can I help you? There we go. Wait, you gotta ask me, well, you can't ask me nothing because you don't have a mic. Dust? Wait. There's dust. There we go.